What's happening, everybody? It's your boy Charles Wells, aka C Wells, aka your SWAC tour guide, coming at you with another edition of SWAC Talk. Today, we're going to talk about Week 3. We're going to preview the Week 3 action. As you know, the game of the week this week is Alabama A&M at Bethune-Cookman. We'll talk about that at the later portion of the show. Before we get started with the previews, go ahead and hit those socials down below. Like them, follow them, share them, whatever the case may be. Check out the podcast, anchor.fm/SWACTalk. Also can be found on Spotify, Stitcher, Breaker, Google Podcasts, and Apple Podcasts. Don't forget, if you haven't done so already, why don't you go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Hit that notification bell to be alerted to any content that I upload. And feel free to comment. Let me know who you think is going to win this week. Some things you might be looking for, somebody who might be a player that might go off that ain't nobody really talking about. Feel free to jump in the comments and let me know what's up. And share the videos. Just, spread the love. If you like to also spread the love, I'm going to pass around a collection. If you would like, you can hit the Cash App, $SWACTalk. And I greatly appreciate anything. If not, I totally appreciate the support that you guys are already showing. So with that being said, we're going to go ahead and hop on into Week 3. Week 2 was a very busy week. Week 3, similar. Let's do a quick rundown of the schedule, and then we'll go game by game. First game, obviously, like I said, is Thursday. Alabama A&M at Bethune-Cookman. Saturday, 6 o'clock kickoff in Prairie View. The Panthers host the Houston Baptist Huskies. Also 6 o'clock, Stephen F. Austin hosts Mississippi Valley. Florida A&M is at USF. That game is on ESPN+. That's also a 6 o'clock kickoff. Grambling is at the University of Houston. Again, another 6 o'clock kickoff on ESPN+. UAPB is at Central Arkansas. 6 o'clock kickoff. Southern hosts McNeese. 6 o'clock kickoff. ESPN+ broadcast. Alcorn is at South Alabama. 7 o'clock kickoff, and Jackson State is at UL Monroe, 7 o'clock. So let's go ahead and we're going to go ahead and start with the Jackson State game. I think Jackson State has a good shot in this game. They're playing, especially on defense, they're playing really aggressive football. They're doing a good job of getting to the quarterback. They're only allowing 11 points per game on defense. They're averaging 22.5. They're averaging at about 58.5 yards rushing, so they're not really running the ball a lot, but they're getting yardage when they need it. They're allowing 89 yards per game on the ground. Passing is where Jackson has been getting it done. They're averaging 291.5 yards per game through the air, 48 of 64, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. The opponents, 159.5 yards per game. 36 of 63, 1 touchdown, no interceptions. Total offense, Jackson State 348 yards, 5.8 yards per play. The opponents 249, 3.6 yards per play. Third downs, Jackson State is converting 29% on third downs. That's a number that's gonna have to improve. It hadn't hurt them yet, but that's a number that you always want to see improve. Defensively, they are allowing 32.2%. On third downs. They fumbled 4 times and lost 6, so that's something that can be cleaned up. They have 11 sacks on the season, and the opponents have 4. Looking at just some individual guys, and you already know Shedeur Sanders is the guy at quarterback, freshman, but playing really well right now, making plays through the air, trusting his receivers. Guys like Trevante Rucker, who is making a lot of big plays. Josh Lanier, another name that we can keep an eye on. He's averaging 53 yards per game receiving. He has 11 receptions on the season right now. Keith Corbin, Shane Hooks, Warren Newman, also a return guy. He had a punt return touchdown against Tennessee State, so that's an added dimension to keep an eye out for him. Like I said, Shedeur is playing well. He hasn't turned the ball through the air. He does have a couple fumbles, but right now he's completing 75% of his passes, 48 of 64 for 583 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. So numbers are good right now. I would like to see the running game get going a little bit more, but Peyton Pickett is the leading rusher. Right now he's averaging 58.5 yards per game, 117 yards on the season. Defense, where do you start? The linebackers, Aubrey Miller, Keontae Hampton, James Houston, he's also been played as a rush end. So those guys are tremendous monsters. Up front, Antoine Owens is a guy who to keep an eye on. Niles Gaddy has been getting some good burn. And in the secondary, C.J. Holmes, DeJohn Warren, Shiloh Sanders. A guy who I like that's been really making some plays is Cameron Silman Craig. He's a young guy, but he's been doing well on defense. Jemani Crane is another name that you've been hearing from time to time. Cornelius Miller. I mean, the list goes on and on. So, I mean, obviously it's a who's who of guys, but this defense is very aggressive, and they've been making plays in the backfield pretty much on a game by game basis in these first two games. And I don't expect that to change too much against ULM. ULM comes in this game, they're 0-1. They lost to Kentucky 45-10. Offensively, they did nada. They had 87 yards of offense in the entire game. 17 yards rushing, 70 passing. Those numbers, regardless of if it's a Power 5 team or not, those are horrible numbers, especially for an FBS opponent. I don't care how much you are, you should not gain 87 yards on a whole night. They were 11 of 20 passing for 70 yards. Like I said, no touchdowns, no interceptions. They allowed 179 yards rushing to Kentucky and 419 through the air. So this team is, obviously this is a team who has not won and have not had much success in the last few years. I haven't seen it in point spread, but to me, I would not be surprised to see Jackson State as the favorite. I think they're playing very well. You have to be careful in a game like this to not, come in overconfident, because these guys are a wounded animal. So you don't know what to expect from them. You kind of hope that you hope that they're still reeling, but I think they're gonna try to come out guns blazing and make a statement. But I'm gonna go with Jackson State in this game. I think the defense can be aggressive and force some turnovers and slow ULM down. Now, if it's a close game, obviously the number factor gonna come in, but ULM is not one of those programs that's like mad deep either. So this is a very winnable game, and I'm gonna go SWAC in this one, man. Like I went back and forth a little bit, but looking at what I saw from ULM right now, I don't feel a level of confidence with them. But you never know. They playing at home. They do have the numbers advantage, but right now I'm gonna go Jackson State, but I'm gonna go close. I'm gonna say 28-24. I think the Tigers get a FBS win and put a good stamp on their on the start of their non-conference slate, the second game of their non-conference slate, and actually put a good stamp on what they're doing throughout the season. So we're gonna move on to our next game. Florida A&M is at SF. Florida A&M comes into this game at 1-1. They defeated Fort Valley State on Saturday, 34-7, in a game that was close at the start, but the Rattlers were able to pull away and make some plays and get the W. They're coming into this game right now averaging 20 points per game. They're allowing 7. They are averaging 126 yards on the ground, 53 allowed for the opponents. So running has been hard for the opponents. FAMU is passing for 192 yards per game, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, 49 of 81. The opponents 39 of 66, 1 touchdown and 2 interceptions. They're averaging 215 yards per game, giving FAMU 318 yards per game on a total offense, 4.4 yards per play. The opponents 268, also 4.4 yards per play. 29% third down conversion. Like I said before, That's a number that has to go up regardless. They're allowing a third down conversion rate of 24%. So that's a very defense getting stops and getting off the field. Individually, Bishop Barnett is the leading rusher. He's averaging 71.5 yards per game. He does have one touchdown on the season. So I really look for him to continue to get carries. DeAndre Francis is the second leading rusher at 26.5 yards per game, followed by Terrell Jennings at 17.5 yards per game. I think the question, obviously, with this team is to continue to be quarterback play until it's not. That's going to be the issue for this team. Can they get consistent quarterback play? They played McKay and Maritovic in the last game, and both guys kind of did some things. So who's gonna get the start? That's gonna be important, and at some point you're gonna have to ride with a guy because your receivers obviously are very good. Chad Hunter, Xavier Smith, David Manigo, Jamare Sherrod, Kamari Young, those guys are playmakers. So you have to have somebody to put the ball in their hands, and that's really what you're gonna have to do as a quarterback. You don't really have to go out of your way and make plays yourself. You just put the ball in your playmakers' hands. Defensively, Derek Mayweather is the leading tackler on the team, followed by Marquise Bell, obviously, is a name that you need to look out for. Antoine Collier, Ronaldo Flowers. Gentle Hunt is a guy who plays big in the middle. Demetrius Powell, BJ Bowler, Darius Fagan. Those are some of the guys on defense. And this defense has been playing pretty salty. Obviously, they haven't given up very many points at the start of the season, but they've been making some opportunities for this offense. If the offense can get on track with the way the defense is playing, then I think they'll put themselves in position to be a better team down the line. They're facing a USF team that comes into this game. Right now, they're 0-2 on the season. They lost to Florida over the weekend, and they lost to North Carolina State to start the season. They're averaging 10 points per game. They're allowing 43.5. They're rushing for 99.5 yards. They're allowing 328 yards on the ground. They're passing for 177 yards, no touchdowns, 4 interceptions. 5 touchdowns for the opponents to 3 interceptions, 267 yards. The opponents are averaging 8.8 yards per play against USF. That defense is not well at 600 yards of offense allowed. They're at 4.1 yards per play. They're led by Darian Felix is the leading rusher. He's averaging 30 yards per game on the ground. Their leading passer is Timmy McClain. They also play K-14. They played 4 quarterbacks already at this portion of the season, so they're looking for somebody to step up for their team. The leading receiver is Xavier Weaver and Mitchell Brinkman. Defensively, a couple of names to look out for: Andrew Mims, Antonio Greer, Dwayne Boyles, Matthew Hill, Daquan Evans, Thad Magnum, Vincent Davis. This, again, this is a game. I really, a lot of people are saying FAMU has a good chance to win this game, and I feel like they have a chance to compete in this game. USF is one of those teams, and always has been one of those teams that gets bullied by other people, and then they try to take it out on the lower level team. Now, USF has been beaten by a FCS opponent a couple of times, but I would love to see FAMU come in here. I think the atmosphere is going to be very Rattler friendly. There are mad Rattlers in Tampa. I lived there for a long time, so that's not going to be an issue. The 100 is going to be there, and it's going to be a good pro Florida A&M crowd because USF don't have any kind of crowd. So that is a positive for the Rattlers. But right now, I look at a lot of these FBS games as numbers, and I think USF is going to find a way to do what they got to do. I think FAMU will compete. I'm going to say 38-17. I think it's going to be a game that can be interesting for a while, but I think unfortunately, I think the Bulls are going to get this one and their first win on this. Our next game that we're going to talk is Grambling going to the University of Houston. And if you have been a fan of a SWAC team that's played the University of Houston, then you know that those guys, they love to pour it on against SWAC opponents. And unfortunately, I see much of the same. Grambling played well in spurts against USM Southern Miss, but obviously they did not score, and that put the defense in some bad positions. For Grambling, the key is the passing game has got to improve. They have not good passing the ball at this portion. They played two quarterbacks at this point in the season, Elijah Walker and Alden Clark. So that's something that's going to have to be established. Somebody's going to have to take the reins, because you cannot average you cannot average 66 yards passing on the season. Obviously those numbers are going to get better, but right now that's just not a good look. They're averaging 162 yards of offense in 2 games. That has to improve first and foremost before anything else gets better. Defensively, they're not playing bad. They are getting gashed on the ground. They've allowed 201 on the ground per game, and they've allowed 133.5 yards through the air. So they've played well defensively. I think what's hurt them so much is the offensive production. They're converting 33% of third downs. They're allowing 40% of third down. So those numbers have to flip-flop. And the offense has to find some kind of consistency and get some things going, because they do have some guys who I think can be some serious playmakers. Darquise Breton, C.J. Russell, Keelan Elder are all guys that can carry the football. Obviously, the receivers, Donald Johnson, Kobe Ross, Greg White, these guys are guys who can make some plays. Darryl Clark. I think these guys can really make some plays if the passing game can improve. Defensively, you're gonna have to just continue to hold the course. This game, I'm not really expecting a lot, and that's no knock against Grambling. Houston's just one of those kind of teams. They love to play a low level team, and they tend to kind of be a bully in these kind of games. But I'm really expecting this is kind of is what it is type of game. Houston, they are coming to this game. They come into this game at 1-1. They lost their first game to Texas Tech 38-21, and then they beat Rice 44-7. So 2 very different types of teams, and they've had 2 different results. So I expect Houston to continue. They like to throw the ball, so I expect them to attack through the air and kind of frustrate Grambling and get their points and get going. So I'm gonna say Houston 56. I think Grambling 14. I think the passing game will get better. I think especially due to the fact that they're gonna have to probably throw at most points of this game. I think that's gonna be a factor that will make Grambling's numbers go up. But I'm not really expecting too much from this game, because this is just a straight money game. So I'm gonna say, like I said, 56-14. I think Grambling will represent themselves well, and they'll come out and play, because Grambling is a team they're gonna come out and play. I don't think they'll fold up in a game like this, but they're just gonna be outmatched. Our next game is Alcorn at University of South Alabama. Before the season, this was a game that I saw a lot of people pointing out as their one of their upset type of games. And then, the MEAC SWAC Challenge happened, and a lot of people jumped off of Alcorn. But they had a solid win against Northwestern State on Saturday. Northwestern State obviously is not the best team in the world, but the SWAC has not been winning these kind of games. So you take what you get, and you really try to improve, week in and week out. And I thought Alcorn played better in this game. I thought the defense played better. They still aren't really hitting on all cylinders yet on offense. The passing game is not doing so well. They're 30 of 50 for 177 yards per game, 358 total, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. Running the ball, they're averaging 155 yards, 4.2 yards per carry. They're allowing 3.6 yards per carry, 139 yards. and 188 yards through the air for the opponents, 38 or 56, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions. Again, numbers are not slapping you in the face, but they played 2 games that they really should be. They really should be 2-0 if they would have executed better against North Carolina Central. They're converting 25% on third downs. That number obviously has to improve. If there's one thing that I've noticed in these first few games that I've talked about is the third down percentage for everybody. It just has to get better. I mean, this is a first week, first game problems. These numbers tend to increase. Obviously, the running game is going to have to be there. Nico Duffy, Stafford Anderson, and Phyllis Harper has been, doing a bit of damage with his legs as well. He's going to have to get into his groove passing and take advantage of his receivers. Warren Anthony, LaCharles Pringle, Manny Jones, a guy like Nico Duffy out the backfield. Those are weapons to be taken advantage of. Defensively, they're improving. They got pushed around a lot against North Carolina Central. I thought they played better against Northwestern State. Jawan Taylor, Kieron Kinsler, Terrence Edgerton, those guys have played well. Solomon Wise had a game that he turned around because we all know he didn't look the best against North Carolina Central. He had a better game. Malcolm McGee, Nichelle Heron, Torrance Wilson, those are games to look out for. Jacorian Wren. South Alabama, they come into this game. They're 1-0 on the season. Well, excuse me, 2-0 on the season. They defeated Bowling Green on Saturday, 22-19, and they beat Southern Miss 31-7. So they're not looking as bad as a lot of people thought they would. So I think this is a game I think they'll play better. I really, I think Alcorn obviously has some real distractions going on right now. So to me, that's probably an issue bigger than the game right now. They've had some issues with their training staff and things of that nature. Coach McNair talked about that on his coaches show on Monday. So how this team is gonna respond is gonna be important. Are they able to put that kind of stuff behind them and come out and play? Because they're playing a team who's not great. They're throwing the ball fairly well, 265 yards per game. They're only running for 72, so they're not wowing you, but they're winning games, which is something that they hadn't done in a while. So I'm gonna go mainly because of the off the field stuff. I'm really gonna lean obviously towards South Alabama. I think they will defeat Alcorn by a score of I'm gonna say 42-20. I think Alcorn can make some plays in this game and keep themselves in it for a while. But I think South Alabama will get the victory. And that sends us to our next game. Stephen F. Austin is hosting Valley. Valley has only played one game so far against Murray State, which they lost 35-0. Offensively, they didn't look good. They had problems moving the ball early, and that just kind of bled over to the rest of the game. Defensively, they got gashed on the ground for over 300 yards. So that's something that's gonna have to improve. They're still kind of unsettled at quarterback. They're at least coming off of a week off, so they've had some time to work on some of those issues. But Valley is gonna have to find a way to make some things happen, because right now they're not doing it. They ran for 99 yards in that game. They passed for 63, so no touchdowns, 2 interceptions on the night. They allowed 307 on the ground to Murray State, but those numbers are gonna have to improve. That defense it can be special, but they don't have the depth to really be a challenger in games like this. They're gonna have to find a way to get Caleb Johnson the ball. I think he's a guy who really is a key factor in their offense. He's a potential all-SWAC running back, so he's a guy that really needs to get the ball. Quarterback, they really need to settle on a guy. They started Connor Reagan in the first game. Jelani Eason, who started the spring, he came in. He's more of a runner. He came in and tried to make some things happen. Jarius Clayton, Donald Johnson are guys to look out for. And defensively, they just have to stay the course. They have to try to keep themselves in the game. They're gonna need to find some way to keep that defense off the field because they get wore down like that. And facing a Stephen F. Austin team that comes in here um, with a 1-1 record. They lost to They beat Tarleton State 20-10, and they lost to Texas Tech on Saturday 28-21. So that's a very solid outing against a Power 5 opponent. And Stephen F. Austin has been a tough team in most years. They're throwing the ball for about 289 on the season, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. That's their strength is passing the ball. Defensively, they're allowing 130 yards on the ground and 204 through the air. So that's a 334 per game average total. 5.8 yards per play for the opponents, 4.8 for the Lumberjacks. They're converting 27% on third downs as well. So that's a number that's obviously they want to improve. For it to stay in this game, they really need to move the football. And I know that sounds simple, and I know that's that's one of those duh moments, but that's what Valley needs to do, whether they score or not on drives. They need to move the ball. It would be great to finish drives with points, but at the same time, you need to have some drives that keep your defense off the field. You need to avoid those bad penalties that set you back behind the chains because of some issues that Valley has, committing penalties that puts themselves behind the chains, and then they have to throw. Valley wants to run. That's what they do. So they need to be able to stay ahead of the chains to run the football and keep their defense off the field. Let them rest and let them recover. Let them make some plays and then get off the field. Defensively, they have to get themselves off the field. They cannot have bad penalties. They cannot allow big explosive plays, and they have to be stout against the run, even though Stephen F. Austin is a team that throws the ball more than they run it. But teams like this and games like this, they do try to run the football to allow the passing game to have some room. So this is a very interesting game. I don't think Valley has the numbers. It's so hard to pick Valley in games like this. I don't think they have the numbers right now to maintain any sort of a battle in this. So I'm gonna say I hate to pick so bad against Valley, but I'm gonna go Stephen F. Austin 56, Valley 7. I really want Valley to improve. I really want Valley to try to pull this out, but right now I just don't see it with the numbers that they have. I don't think that's gonna happen. Moving on to our next game. This is a battle of Arkansas. A very good and intriguing FCS matchup against an in-state opponent. These are the kind of games that I've really been asking for. I think if you're going to play FCS games, you need to play them against teams in your area. I'm not going to go off on a tangent about scheduling and all that right now, but this is a game that needs to happen. You need your area and region first before you branch out. Because it's all about recruiting. You need to beat these teams to get these kids to come to your school. Pine Bluff comes in this game 1-0. They defeat Lane 34-16. Had a very good game running the ball, 275 yards on the night, 2 touchdowns, 18 of 33 passing, 189 yards, 1 touchdown, no interceptions. Defensively, they only allowed 20 yards on the ground. They forced Lane to pass the ball. Lane was able to throw for 290 on the night, 21 of 39, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. So the defense was very stout against the run. And, Pine Bluff comes into this game as one of the front runners in the division. I don't care that people pick them to finish 5th in the division. I don't think that's going to happen. They played a couple backs that I didn't recognize. Kayvon Britton, he ran the ball for 58 yards on the night. Kiara Crossley also ran the ball for 52 yards. So those are a couple guys who really got some good burn that night. I still, Skylar Perry is a guy who's obviously going to get some carries at quarterback. That's, the running game, it has to stay consistent. I think if they had any issue in the spring, it was the running attack, because the passing game it has potential to be good with, you have guys like Juan Miller. out there making plays. Tyron Ralph, Trey Harrell. These are guys who can make some plays for you if your quarterback is able to stay composed. Because defensively, you have Kobe Watts, Monroe Beard, Stanley Bentley, Askew, Paul Reeves, Akins, Isaac Peppers. These guys are guys who can make some plays for your defense. But offensively, it all starts with their running game, and they have to stay consistent with their running game to allow the passing game to flourish. And this is a big game. Like I said, Central Arkansas comes in at 0-2. They lost to Missouri State on Saturday, 43-34, and Arkansas State beat them 40-21. They are led in rushing by Darius Hale. He has 29 carries for 88 yards and 2 touchdowns. Passing, Braylon Smith, leading passer, 48 of 80, 5 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, 628 through the air, long pass of 71. Leading receiver, LaJuan Winningham, 16 catches, 228 yards, 2 touchdowns. And Tyler Hudson, 10 catches, 235 yards and 1 touchdown. Hudson's averaging 23.5 yards per catch. Definitely a guy getting the ball deep down the field. UCA is always tough at home, and this is their first home game, and this is a big game. I think Pine Bluff has a good shot in this game, but they're gonna have to play more consistent than they did against Lane. They're gonna have to come to play. They're gonna have to be ready from the jump, because Central Arkansas is gonna try to really, they're gonna try to really beat them to the punch early. I'm going SWAC with my picks, man. I think the SWAC needs these kind of wins. These are very important non-conference games against FCS opponents in your area. I'm gonna pick Pine Bluff. I'm gonna say 31-28. I think Pine Bluff has a very good chance in this game if they play solid football. Don't turn it over. Don't get yourself in any bad situations. Obviously, those are simple. Those are common things to say. So I really think if Pine Bluff can start fast and not be sloppy like they were against Lane, then they give themselves a good opportunity in this game. But it's going to be a war. It's going to be tough, and it obviously is no given that this game is going to be a Pine Bluff victory. So I think they have a good shot, and I'm going to go with the Golden Lions, like I said, 31-28. Our next game is Southern hosting McNeese. Again, similar situation to what I just said about Pine Bluff. This is a regional FCS opponent. This is a team who is about 2 hours away from your campus. These teams have played 2 times before. In 2019, Southern had a good opportunity in this game, turned the ball over way too many times, allowed McNeese to build a lead, and Southern found a way to come back and lose by 6. But if you want to consider yourself a team that's going to be a top team in this conference, and any other considerations, this is a game that you need to win. You have to win. I don't like to call non-conference games must wins, but for Southern, I think this is a must win. They coming off of a victory against Miles, 41-28, and they lost to Troy 55-3. Southern played, well in spurts in the first half against Miles, played a lot better in the second half. Ultimately, Southern, obviously, if you know anything about Southern, they want to run the football, and they ran for 323 on the night against Miles, 39 carries, 8.3 yards per carry. They did play Bubba McDaniel at quarterback. Skelton was a late scratch, so he may be able to play. They're missing Gerard Sims at running back, but Craig Nelson stepped in, picked up 130 yards on the night. Devon Ben is still there, obviously. Kobe Dillon's a young guy who got some carries. So the running game is still going to be there. If Sims plays, then that's just an extra guy to have carry the ball. The passing game obviously is going to be what it is. Southern threw for 202 on the night. But they threw for 138 on the night, 11 of 15, 1 touchdown, no interceptions. The key for Southern passing the ball is Ethan Howard, tight end. He has to be a factor in this game. He has to make some plays. Marquise McClain's a big guy on the outside. He has some big catches on the night. Jamar Washington's a smaller guy that works in the slot. He also runs the ball. But Southern obviously is going to start with the run game. Defensively, Southern has that I need to say about what Southern needs to do in this game on defense. They have to tackle. The defensive line is playing, they're playing pretty well, especially in the middle of their defense. Davin Cotton is leading those guys. The linebackers are playing pretty good. They're getting, they are kind of getting sucked up in the middle of plays, but the defense just has to tackle. If Southern tackles, then they put themselves in a position to win games. And they have to tackle today. They have to tackle on Saturday because McNeese is going to try to make some plays in space. McNeese is averaging 226 through the air and 87 on the ground. They are converting 27% on third down. So again, not a great number. But they're led in rushing by Stephon Hutterson. He's averaging 70 yards per game on the ground. Cody Orgeron is the quarterback. He can run the ball as well. He's a guy, he's not going to kill you with his legs, but he's a guy that can extend some plays and make some things happen. The receiving core is led by Josh Matthews. He's a guy who can make some plays. He's averaging 55.5 yards per game. He has one touchdown on the season. Defensively, it starts and ends with Isaiah Chambers at defensive end. He is a guy who can really get out of the quarterback. He was the state defensive player of the year in the spring. So he's a guy who you really can count on to get some pressure from McNeese. Southern's going to have to keep an eye out on him at all times, and they have to be aware of where he's at when they get ready to throw the football. For me, like I said, to me, the less Southern throws the ball, the better. If Southern throws the ball a lot, then they're obviously losing. Southern needs to control the ball, control the clock, and hopefully, they'll be able to wear down McNeese with their running game. I think this is going to be a close game again. I think McNeese is going to come to play. They're 0-2 season, but they played two different games. They lost to West Florida, who was a Division II power. They scored 36 points in that game, and they scored 7 against LSU. So they're going to be somewhere probably in the middle. I'm going to say last time the score was 34-28. I'm going to keep that same score, but I'm going to flip it this time. I'm going to go Southern 34, McNeese 28. I think it's going to be an entertaining game. One key factor, I don't know if it's going to still be raining. I think if it rains, I think that will help Southern a lot because obviously Southern wants to run the football. So I think if it rains, I think that's going to help Southern in this game. So like I said, 34-28 Southern. And our last matchup of the night is our game of the week. And you broadcast 6:30 p.m. Alabama A&M at Bethune-Cookman. Two teams with two different styles of play. Bethune-Cookman is a team who really wants to smack you around and play physical. They want to run the football. They will throw it when they have to. And this year they're led by Shannon Patrick, who's the UAPB transfer. He's a guy who can put the ball in the air. But Bethune-Cookman's identity is tough, hard-nosed football, and I don't think they're going to stray away from that. Alabama A&M obviously is a team who loves to pass the ball, and they can run it. I really don't want people to think that A&M cannot run the football. They will run. If you look at what they did in 2019 with a back like Jordan Bentley, they will run the football. They're not running it as much, but Gary Quarles is a guy who can really hurt you if you cannot account for him. And just like Bentley in 2019, Quarles can catch the ball out the backfield. Obviously, we know Akil Glass is that dude at quarterback, and he's gonna be a threat. Receivers, the list is long, man. Brian Jenkins Jr., Ibrahim, Odu Hilaire, Kendrick Johnson, Zabrian Moore, D. Anderson now is a transfer. He's a big body guy. They have a ton of guys. Like I said, Garrett Quarles can catch the ball at the backfield. That passing game is going to be on point. I mean, that's just what they do. They throw the ball and they run it when they have to. Defensively, A&M's issue is going to be making stops. They I thought they allowed a team in South Carolina State who I didn't think offensively could hang with them. I think they allowed them to hang around too long and gave up 41 points to them. South Carolina State cannot, they're not a throwing team. So when they found themselves having to throw, that's when their issues really arise. They threw 2 interceptions on the night, 213 yards through the air. They were able to run for 242. So that bodes well for Bethune-Cookman. If Bethune-Cookman can run the football and convert those third downs, drive the ball, keep A&M off the field, and I'm not saying you're going to be able to hold the ball for 41 minutes or something like that. A&M is, they're a quick strike offense, so they don't need the ball that much. Time of possession is not a huge factor in a game like this as far as, who wins and who loses, because A&M is going to strike fast. But Bethune-Cookman definitely does need to control the ball. They need to take advantage of any opportunities they have. And you make A&M drill. If you give them short fields, they're going to eat you alive. You have to force some turnovers. Glass will throw an interception or two from time to time. They fumbled 3 times in this game against South Carolina State, so that's an issue. But Bethune-Cookman has to do what they do. They need to run the football. I mean, they're not really running for great numbers right now against 2 FBS opponents, but they're throwing the ball fairly well. They do have two interceptions thrown, so that's an issue that they need to clean up. And they just need to stay the course. They need to stay in their identity. They need to run and pass when they have to, and I don't think they need to try to get caught up in the shootout, because I don't think they'll hold up. I think A&M's defense is going to give up some points, but I think A&M's offense is going to score more points. So this is a game, I think you could hit the 30s and lose if you're Bethune-Cookman, and I think that's what's going to happen. I'm going to say A&M 45, Bethune-Cookman 31. I think it's going to be a game that's exciting. I think Bethune-Cookman is going to do what they can, but I think A&M's offense is just too explosive. That defense still has me worried, especially with the run game. They were missing some guys on the front seven, so if those guys are back, maybe that shores them up. But they weren't the best defensive team before, so how much that is now is a thing that we have to see on a week-to-week basis. This team hasn't played together that much on defense. They have a lot of new pieces, so they're still having to develop chemistry. That bye week may have helped them some, so we'll see. But Bethune-Cookman coming off of 2 FBS games at home on Thursday night, it's going to be a tough game for A&M. It's tough to win in Daytona, and I think Bethune-Cookman is going to give it all they got. But I think the A&M offense is going to be what seals the deal for the Bulldogs. Like I said, 45-31. That's our SWACTalk game of the week. So that does it for this week. Let's take a quick peek at next week. I don't want to go too far. I mean, obviously we have, we haven't even played week 3, but I wanted to just do a quick look at week 4. Thursday, September 23rd, Alcorn is at UAPB. That's a huge West Division matchup. 6 o'clock kickoff, ESPNU. Saturday, September 25th, Delta State is at Jackson State, 2 o'clock kickoff. Alabama A&M and Tuskegee face off in the Gulf Coast Challenge, 4 o'clock in Mobile, Alabama. Grambling and Prairie View hook up in the State Fair Classic in Dallas at the Cotton Bowl, 4 o'clock kickoff. Bethune-Cookman is at Alabama State, 5 o'clock kickoff in Montgomery, ESPN Plus broadcast. Texas Southern is at Rice. That's a 5:30 kickoff. It's slated to be on the ESPN Family Network, so probably ESPN Plus or ESPN3. And then Sunday, Southern is playing Valley in Jackson. That's an ESPN Plus broadcast, 2 o'clock kickoff. So we have this next week will be our first week of multiple SWAC games. There is 4 SWAC games on the schedule, so start to really get into SWAC play. But like I said, week 3 this week. So if you're going to a game, enjoy yourself. If you're in the South somewhere, stay dry. If it's raining, man, y'all be safe out there. Tomorrow, SWAC Smoke live episode, 6 o'clock Central Time. Want to get on and get off before the game starts. So make sure y'all check that out. Sunday, week 3 recap. And that's it, man. I'm out of here, man. Y'all enjoy y'all Wednesday. And I'll see you guys around on the flip side. We out.